How's it going, everybody? It's good to be back in another video. This morning I was feeling pretty good, so I thought why not make a little channel update regarding where I'm at with Malazan, Book of the Fallen, the other books I've been reading this past summer, and just some general life updates as well. It's been quite a while since I made my last video about how to read Malazan, Book of the Fallen. Since then, I read almost the rest of the series. I'm currently reading The Crippled God. I'm about like 40% of the way through, so I plan on finishing that in the next couple of weeks. So early November, I think I'll be done with the entire series. In some ways, I'm like pushing for it to be done because I've been reading the series for almost a year now, I think, since I first started. I'm looking forward to getting to the end of the main 10 books, but in a lot of ways, I don't want it to end because this has just been a really incredible experience overall. This is just going to be a quick overview, spoiler-free chat of where I'm currently at with the series. I do plan on making more videos in the future about Malazan, so be ready for much longer, detail-filled videos. I do actually have like an hour-long video about the Bone Hunters that I filmed at the beginning of the summer and then just never finished editing because I wrote so many notes about that book. It just was taking forever to finish the editing process. And then one thing led to another, and I just got distracted with life and work and jiu-jitsu and several other things. And it just never happened. So that video will be coming out hopefully in the near future. Based on where I'm currently at with the series, I just think it's just mind-blowing what Erickson has done with these 10 books. Like when I was reading the foreword of The Crippled God, Erickson has this little paragraph where he's, kind of writing to the reader. He expresses some gratitude to the reader for having this 3.5 million word conversation with him. And I just totally connected with that because I do feel like I've been having a conversation with him the entire time as I was going through these books. What got me into these books was the crazy story and the world, hundreds of characters that I was starting to feel connected to. But I think what has driven me through the last 4 or 5 books is the philosophy that Erickson embeds within the story as well. The countless times that I've been reading this book and have had to stop and think and ponder about what I was reading and what I was experiencing, these were thoughts that I would not have had if I hadn't gone through these stories. Maybe through another means, if I, was like really digging into philosophy books, I think I would have come across some of the same lines of thought. But I think this series as a whole is a really great way to make somebody think about their life and their relationships. So yeah, I mean, I have so much more that I want to say about it, but I'm going to leave it there for now. Now that I'm about 40% of the way through The Crippled God, I'm really feeling this theme of compassion as like a central theme to the series. There was a couple books in the beginning, particularly Memories of Ice, and definitely some other storylines later on in the series where compassion was a big part of it. And it's something that Erickson seems to go back to over and over again. But I'm not, I have no idea how The Crippled God is going to end or how this storyline is going to wrap up. Like even 40% of the way through, I'm like, how is this guy going to tie all of this together? I'm very curious to find out how he does it. But it does seem to me like he's driving home a certain emphasis on compassion and empathy, and how compassion is just a incredible virtue to have as a person. I think a lot of people think they're compassionate or empathetic to people, but being really compassionate seems to be incredibly difficult. It's like in order to be compassionate for somebody who is your enemy or who has ill will to you, right? Like forgetting about the books, right? Like just in life, if somebody has ill intent towards you in one way or another, the ability to be compassionate to that person is just like, that's an incredibly difficult thing to do. And I think you're an incredibly mature person if you have that capability. And that's something that I'm really getting out of these books. Another thing that I've been thinking as I'm getting closer to finishing the series is that especially Dust of Dreams and the beginning of The Crippled God has made me feel a little bit of like nihilism, a little bit of hopelessness. There are moments where it just seems like there's absolutely no hope for the characters in these books, whether they be like the evil characters or the good characters. I mean, that's all, there are characters that I think are good and I think are evil, but in the grand scheme of the books, it's not very clear at all. And yeah, I think in one way or another, all of these different storylines have an element of hopelessness to them, especially in 𝑑ustiv's dreams. I am citing a little bit from some other booktubers that I was listening to. It might have been AP or the spoiler chat about 𝑑ustiv's dreams that Jimmy did. Regardless, I remember somebody brought up the fact that 𝑑ustiv's dreams is all about extinction and extinctions of species and cultures, and I totally connect with that and see that. And when you think about extinction, it really does make you feel a little bit of hopelessness, because at the end of the day, everything becomes extinct. Regardless of how much you try in life, everything is dust, as Erikson would say. And so I could see how that the repetition of that motif could make somebody feel hopeless, but at the same time, what the characters do in the face of that makes me feel very hopeful and stronger, actually. I think it drives home this feeling. I think nihilism, personally, now, like, this is my personal opinion, but I think nihilism is the incorrect way to look at life. I think it's good to assess that everything reverts back to nothing at some point in time, but you have to move forward in the face of that and make the most of your situation, just whatever it is. I do think that's kind of what Erikson is getting at, especially in The Crippled God. Without getting into the details, things feel hopeless in many ways, but people keep pushing forward and striving forward. And even if it doesn't go their way, the fact that they're making an effort to fulfill their goals and to make things better in one way or another, I think that gives them a purpose worth living for and dying for in many ways. So we'll see where the rest of the book series goes, and I'm sure I'm going to have plenty more thoughts, but that's just kind of like some things that I've been ruminating on as I've been getting farther along in the series. And I do apologize for dropping off and not making a review for every book as I finished them, but like, life just got in the way and I got out of the habit of making the videos, and it's just one of those things where once the momentum slows down, it gets so much harder to turn the camera on and get back to recording videos. So hopefully this is the start of momentum in the right direction. And so, yeah, now that I'm through my Malazan update, just gonna do a quick life update as well. When I first started posting videos on this channel, I did talk about how I want to talk about, other topics and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is a big part of my life as well. So I spent all summer training Jiu-Jitsu. I was able to stay very consistent despite having a few injuries here or there. If you know anything about Jiu-Jitsu, you know that there's two styles of Jiu-Jitsu. There's gi Jiu-Jitsu, which you do in the kimono, and then there's no gi Jiu-Jitsu, which you just do in like shorts and a t-shirt, essentially. And I've always been somebody who did primarily gi Jiu-Jitsu, but within the past 6 months, I've been trying to focus more on no gi as well, trying to do them 50-50 so that I can be relatively competent in both. I don't have crazy competitive aspirations for Jiu-Jitsu, but I do always like to compete against myself, and I am somebody who feels like if they're not getting better, that I'm just spinning my wheels or wasting my time, which is not always the case. But I love Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm very committed to improving as much as I can given my circumstances with work and life and other commitments. Trying to maintain a 6-day-a-week regimen with training as much as I can. I started doing hot yoga over the summer, which has been super beneficial for my flexibility and recovery. And that's a whole nother pursuit within itself. I'm also trying to stay consistent with lifting weights and sticking to a 3-day-a-week lifting regimen. I've been lifting for the past 2 years, but it's been pretty inconsistent. 1 day here, 2 days there, not really tracking my lifts and trying to progress properly. But in the past month or so, I've been changing that, and I've started tracking my lifts and sticking to a program. So hopefully over time, I should be seeing more development in that area. And I think that's going to help my jiu-jitsu and recovery for training as well. I also competed in a jiu-jitsu tournament at the beginning of the summer, just a simple local grappling industries. And unfortunately, I went 1 and 2, which was annoying. I was disappointed, to be honest, but what can you do? You live and you learn. Got to keep moving forward. Maybe I'll put some little highlights of those matches here.
Nice, Taylor. Right away, right into it. Right into it. Nice, Taylor. Clear it. Nice, Taylor. Nice, Taylor. Keep going. Nice, Taylor.
Nice, nice.
Don't let him get close up. Right into it, Taylor. Come on. You got it. That's your move. You got it, Taylor. Hold.
Didn't let it discourage me, just kept training, got right back in the training room after that, and hopefully I'll compete at least once more before the end of the year. I feel like I've also made some good progress in my mental health the past month. Yeah, I don't really want to get into the details of it in this video, but I might be making some videos on that in the near future if people are interested. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I've made some progress and I have some things to chat about in that regard. I just turned 30 this past summer, so I felt like, I don't know. It seems silly. It's just a number, but it was a little bit of a wake-up call to me. I just realized that there's some things that I want to accomplish in life, and I've always been somebody who's tried to work really hard at my career and at the, my interests. But I think maybe I not fell off, but like kind of deviated from my path in the past 2 years or so. So this summer was about trying to like refocus and get back in line with what I think I should be doing. And yeah, so I'll have some things to talk about that in the near future. But okay, to wrap up this video, we're just gonna go through quickly all the books that I have read. I have continued to keep reading since the last video, right? So hold on. So let's go through this really quickly. Obviously, I read The Bone Hunters. This book is fucking sick. The end of the book is incredible, the way that Erickson, this is gonna be what I say for each one of the Malazan books. The convergence at the end of the book is so sick. So I read The Bone Hunters, Toll the Hounds, Dust of Dreams, and then the non-Malazan books that I read, The Victory, Part 2 by Dan Abnett. It's a book in the Gaunt's Ghost series, which is a Warhammer 40k series. But in my opinion, Gaunt's Ghost is one of the best Warhammer series out there, written by the best Warhammer author. And this is the most current book in the series. And this series deserves an entire video. Within the booktube community, I think Gaunt's Ghost is something that should be more prevalent. But the thing is, it's a Warhammer series, so it's not going to get a lot of attention outside of the Warhammer community. But you don't really need to know, I don't think you need to know anything about Warhammer to enjoy this book. It's just really good military fantasy. The other series that I'm working my way through right now is the Horus Heresy, which is another Warhammer series, and it's so goddamn long. There's no way that I'm gonna read every Horus Heresy book because not all of them are of the same level. There's a lot of, without being mean, there's a lot of trash Warhammer books out there, but there's also some real gems. So I'm trying to just like stick to reading the reviews and figuring out which ones are the best and reading those and then using like the wiki to fill in the gaps along the way. So I read The First Heretic. This is by Aaron Dubensky-Bowden. No Fear, which is another well-known Horus Heresy book, also written by Dan Abnett. Angel Exterminatus by Graham McNeil, who's also a fabulous author in the Warhammer world. And then the last book I read was The Easy Way to Control Alcohol by Alan Carr. I finished this recently, and I think this book deserves a whole video within itself. Yeah, I found it very helpful. I'm not going to get into the details here, but it was quite the read. If you're somebody who drinks alcohol, whether it's regularly or just on special occasions, socially with friends, it will change your entire perspective about your relationship with alcohol. So definitely recommend this book. I also read The Lies of La Clamora, which is Gentlemen Bastards Book 1. And I'm almost done with Red Seas Under Red Skies, which is Gentlemen Bastards Book number 2. Have thoroughly enjoyed both of those books. For me, book 2 has been a step above book 1. I know a lot of people talk really good things about book 1. I thought it was okay. I was like, this is a good book. I found it to be a good read. The audio version was great, but I have found book 2 to be more interesting to me than the first book. But I don't know, maybe that deserves a longer video at some point. Also, if you're wondering why I have a black eye, it's just from jiu-jitsu. I didn't get into a street fight, so don't worry about me. So that's everything I wanted to get through in this little update video. I don't want to speak too soon, but there will be videos coming in the near future, so look out for that. But if you like this video, like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.